Khalid's work, or I think it might be Gulfaraz Khan. Mian Saleem sahab also, okay. So can I congratulate you, Mian Saleem sahab, for bringing so many sisters, daughters to listen to Kristiane Mecca. My name is Mushtaq Lasharie. All men know me, but I hope you will know from today. I am the chairman of Third World Solidarity. I launched this book before it was even published. It was published on 3rd of September, but it was launched on 28th of August when Dr. Khalid Bajwa, the Deputy Mayor, Gulfaraz Khan, Mian Saleem and many others bought it. So I hope today everybody, you will buy the book. It is there, and there are not many books, and if they are all not sold, all will be dumped on Mian Saleem. So he will come to your doors and sell it later on. So let me start it, ladies and gentlemen. Councillors, welcome from High Wycombe, many councillor from Reading, councillor from other areas. Can I start with Haji Gulfaraz sahab to recite before we start the event? Haji Gulfaraz sahab.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر صدق الله العظيم.
Thank you very much, Gulfaraz sahab. And whenever I come to Pakistan Community Center, I feel like I'm at home. I don't know whether it is because of Martin or Mohammad or all of you, but I feel like home. I'm still feeling like home. I traveled in the rain with few of my friends, and special thanks to Mian Saleem, who is the chairman. Since he has been elected chairman of this community center, this has become a very vibrant community center. It has become a very equal community center. And whenever I am told that in this event Martin Salter will be there, I am attracted, because Martin Salter is a very good friend of all Pakistanis and Pakistan. So I really get great attraction. Then on left of Martin Salter is another friend of mine sitting, Faiz Rasool, who is the chairman, founder chairman of Labour Friends of Pakistan, which was announced and led by Ed Miliband a few weeks back in December last year in London. And he has done a lot of work. So I'm very pleased that he was able to come. We have also Victoria here, councillor, who is from High Wycombe. We hope soon she will shift and become honorary citizen of Reading as I am. So can I invite first of all Mian Mohammad Saleem to welcome all, although I have welcomed everybody, but I want him to welcome once again.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Lasharie sahab. And you are, by the way, you already gave me nationality and citizenship. Thank you for coming. May I welcome the Deputy Ambassadors of Zikri sahab from High Commission. And of course, you all know, you've probably seen on the YouTube, K.Backer here. And my dearest friend and brother and pride of Reading, Martin Salter. And Victoria is a councillor from High Wycombe. And our dearest friend from High Wycombe, from London. And I think the Labour Party is the whole. Labour Friends of Pakistan. Thank you. And many of our friends and councillors and colleagues, and thank you very much for coming. Perhaps it's a bad weather, and I was expecting probably big turnout, because I'm sure that my friend was telling me there's a lot of text was coming through that people couldn't make it and blah blah. Anyway, so many of you are still, many of you not here. Just to say a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to condemn that the picture that has been going on insulting our Prophet Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's something that Lasharie sahab will want to put that press on the Reading community. And also, we'd like to put a salute to the young lady Milana, that the bravery she have showed, and now she's in the UK. And that is from our community and myself and from us. And I would go back a little bit, as after a long time, the Martin is back here in the community game. And we're just talking about going back to Kashmir in Pakistan. And I think Victoria, you have been to Pakistan 9 times? Yes, 9 times. So probably have a lot of story to hear from. I actually met K.Backer at Lasharie Saab's event at the Kensington, and that's when I saw her book and I read a book, and actually I thought it'd be really good for Reading, and the kind of work that she's doing for Islam and for the, this could be a role model for our young people. I don't want to take too long here because I think we've got a good, after such a long time, Martin as well. Thank you very much for coming. And I hope that all of us will walk away with a book. And this book could be very useful for our future children. And I'm sure. Thank you very much.
Yes, Saleem Saab, thank you very much. I think Mian Saleem Saab hit in a very brief way many things. Pakistan, we know that passing through a very challenging time. Muslims are passing through a very challenging time. And when people like K.Backer stand up and tell us that not only Islam, but Pakistan is a great country, it becomes very great privilege for us, British Pakistanis, who have moved from Pakistan to Britain, and now we have made Britain our home. And Britain is a great country because Britain is the most tolerant country, it is the fairer country than we have seen in many other parts of the world. It is the most, given us a lot of opportunities, and everybody in this room who are councillors, who are deputy mayors from Pakistani region are being proud British people. But when we see Pakistan being demonized by the forces, whether it is a silly person in USA and puts a derogatory film on YouTube and the Western state doesn't do anything to stop it, it becomes a challenging time for all Muslims of this world. Or when Malala is being hit by the Taliban in the head, a 14-year-old young girl, and I think there are a lot of young girls sitting here and they can see that when Malala is being hit because she is going to school and she is campaigning that other children should get educated. I think it is a disgrace on them, and they are not Muslims who have hit that girl, because Prophet Muhammad said it, that for knowledge, if you have to go to China and think of 1500 years ago, saying from Mecca, Medina, Saudi Arabia, go to China, that means go to any extent if you want to gain knowledge. So I think the people who are trying to stop our mothers, our daughters, our sisters from education are condemnable, and we should condemn wherever we can. So today the book launch is of Kristiane book, which is MTV to Mecca, as you can see, and she will speak about it in few minutes, but I've got very short speeches before she speaks, and then you will have a chance, and I think Councillor Des has asked that some people would like to ask questions from Kristiane or anybody who has spoken, so we will allow you to come and engage with it. So I will start from the left, Victoria, Councillor Victoria from K.Backer to speak, because she has read the book, downloading from the internet, so I will ask her to speak first.
Very much for inviting me here tonight. It's an absolute pleasure to be here. I downloaded your book. It's the first internet book I've ever downloaded. So sadly you can't sign it. I don't think there's a way of doing an electronic signature yet. But I spent 10 years working in international development, mainly in sub-Saharan Africa. And one thing I would say that I think is particularly wonderful about this book is the imagery that it brings to people's minds, particularly sort of your experiences of being smuggled over borders, which I too have experiences of, but the imagery of meeting women and talking to women about what they feel and what they feel in their spiritual lives, I think it's made a huge impact on me. I downloaded this book on Monday and I finished it yesterday, so it is a really good, easy book to read, and I would recommend it to you. I think I'd just like to finally say that I've spent most of my time working in a community which is 20% Muslim, Pakistani Muslim, and the community has embraced me fully, and the way I have been welcomed here tonight is very similar, and I'd like to thank you for your very, very kind welcome, and to recommend that you pick up the book because it's a really good read.
I know and you know that next speaker, I'm going to skip Faiz Rasool because I don't want too many people to speak. I'll introduce you to him. He is our great leader, friend from Pakistan, and he's doing very well in UK. But he's said that he will not speak and give that time to our next speaker. You know him all, so I don't need any introduction. I will just invite our friend of Pakistan, friend of Reading, and former Member of Parliament of Reading East, or is it West?
West.
West, Martin Saleem.
Thank you very much, Saleem. I don't do many of these events now. The wonderful thing about having retired from politics is you can pick and choose the events. I go to the ones I want to go to, not the ones other people want me to go to. And I'm here for a number of reasons. One, I have always been proud of the fact that the Pakistani community in Reading was progressive, was forward-thinking, and involved, quite rightly so, the women of the Pakistan community. What we saw to Malala in the Swat Valley was an absolute abuse of basic human rights. We're here to celebrate a book by a wonderful woman, K.Backer, who's written From MTV to Mecca. Without an education, without a schooling, Kristiane couldn't have written this book. And I think tonight is also an opportunity, not only to buy this book, and I will buy a copy, I don't download books, I want a copy signed, but what I'd like us to do at the end is to sign a card to Malala that's been produced by the anti-fascist campaigning group that I've been involved with for many years, Hope Not Hate, formerly Searchlight. We've campaigned together on the streets of London and Reading against the British National Party, against bigotry, against prejudice. What was done to Malala was bigotry, was prejudice against her for being a woman. So I would like us as a community to sign a get well card and support the thousands of well-wishers who want to see not only Malala survive the awful injuries, but I think that young woman has got a role to play in the politics of Pakistan in the future. I think she'd do a lot better job than many of the men that I've seen seeking to lead Pakistan. So I wish her well.
Thank you very much, Martin. And I can see a lot of councillors and MPs sitting in this audience as well, Martin. Martin, can I see a lot of... Martin and Kristiane, I can see a lot of councillor and MPs sitting in our audience. So I think we have got many Malalas, Yousafzais living in this country, and I hope they will all campaign for a better world, which we have destroyed, the men of past and men of today. And I wouldn't name any, but there are many at the moment. So can I invite my next speaker, who is a great friend, and he has served here many years. Soon he will be leaving. So today we are not only asking him to speak about the book, but we are asking you all to send him off with best wishes to his next posting, which is in Canada, Toronto, as a Council General. And he has served during his period in this country out of where he went. I think the civil servants, we all know, are the servants of the country, and they do the job. But there are some civil servants who go out of the way to serve the community, not only as a servant of the state or the government, but as a human being, and he is one of them. Can I invite Mohammad to come and speak on this book?
Thank you, Lasharie sir, for your kind words, your thoughts. I read the book. In fact, I thought maybe I should jot down my thoughts rather than being randomly speaking about how I have, seen the book or assessed it. Chairman, Pakistan Community Center, Honorable former MP, Martin Sultan, Victoria, Rasool, and of course, Kristiane, the women of the evening tonight. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. I'm immensely pleased to join you all at the launch of the book From MTV to Mecca. written by a distinguished author, K.Backer, present here. And I'm grateful to Mr. Lasharie and the organizers of the launch for their invitation and affording me an opportunity to speak on the occasion. I will recite a verse from the Holy Quran and its translation in English, which relates to the context of today's evening. إِنَّكَ لَتَهْدِي مَنْ أَحْبَبْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ يَهْدِي مَنْ يَشَاءُ وَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِالْمُهْتَدِينَ. Indeed, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you do not guide whom you like, but Allah guides whom He wills, and He is most knowing of the rightly guided. As you may all be aware that Kristiane is 21st century's converted Muslim. As revealed in the verse I recited, Allah's guidance comes in different manifestations to those whom He wills, and it came to Kristiane. I think she is one lucky person among millions who receive divine inspiration and guidance. We can't claim to be as lucky, since most of us were born Muslims by virtue of the fact that we were born to the Muslim families. But it does not mean that Allah's guidance does not come to the believers. The manifestation of guidance for the Muslims is reflected in their deeds if these are in accordance with the way of life and obligations prescribed in Quran and Sunnah. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the ladies are too many here and they have outnumbered the men over here. It is my first ever experience. Muslims' conduct is a guarantee to the continued inspiration for those who are not Muslims and may not be aware of the teachings of Islam. So this is a message which is there in the book also. I'm sure that most of you may have knowledge that Kristiane is German, living in London, and she converted to Islam at the pinnacle of her career in the show business. She was a renowned presenter with MTV. Amidst the glamorous life, Allah's guidance that came to her was a blessing which only fortunate people are bestowed upon. Not many can be proud to be that lucky, enlightened ones and divinely inspired people. So Kristiane, congratulations for being a blessed person. It is a matter of great pride for me to mention here that her conversion to Islam has relevance to my country, Pakistan, and of course your own motherland where from you have come or you have heritage. Pakistan is a blessed country itself by virtue of the fact that it came into existence in the name of Islam and gained independence on 14th of August, which coincided with 27th of Ramadan, the most sacred of all nights, and termed as the night better than 1,000 nights. How we cashed in on the blessing that was bestowed on a Pakistani nation is a separate topic, and I would not dwell on it on this occasion. We are here to discuss a blessed lady's creative thinking. Kristiane's book is about the culmination of a journey in her life from a world that was shining with artificial and temporary glitter, as we believe Muslims, to the frontiers that open into a world which was mapped on a definitive divine path where the inspired ones would hold the rope, the Quran, which describes the code of life, and pass unscathed to the way that leads to the ultimate of all the prizes one could ever wish for. So for all of us, hold the right rope of Almighty Allah tight and you will be surely guided. Pakistan is currently facing a huge challenge of misperception being created through international media, making the international community see the country through the prisms of extremism and security threat. Pakistan, on the contrary, is the world's 5th largest country, 2nd largest Islamic state, and a nuclear state, a cradle of ancient civilizations of Mohenjo-daro, Harappa, and Gandhara, possessing cultural diversity which only a few countries in the world matching it, and most strategically located in the Asian subcontinent. It would not be in the world's interest to judge this country so myopically and characterize it as such. Surely, Pakistan is not how it has been portrayed in the media. Pakistan's true reflections are how it has been presented in the descriptions such as Kristiane's book From MTV to Mecca. I would not like to be seen as a person passing a sweeping statement that all in the Western media follow an agenda aimed at maligning Pakistan. Like Kristiane, there are many others, such as George Bernard Shaw, claimed that about Pakistan's northern areas as nature's some best kept secrets. Peter Obon, who has written numerous articles to highlight the variety of colors that Pakistan possesses. Declan Walsh reminded people of unexplored treasure of the natural beauty for the tourists. Caroline Jane, who wrote a number of blogs on World Bank's website on Pakistan's cultural diversity in the country's mega metropolis like Karachi, etc. I have read the book From MTV to Mecca as much as I could. I could not finish it, but I really want to make some genuine comments today. It's a book worth reading, not because it presents Pakistan's picture that may have come naturally to the author as per her experience of the country and its people, but because it has a message for those who are born Muslims and others who remain deprived of the opportunity or the inspiration and they take their life for granted. The book admirably presents Islam's true meaning towards many aspects of life and humanity and allays misperception created due to lack of knowledge and understanding of Islam as a religion and as a code of life. One thing that I like most about the book that it does not have the stereotype language with rhetoric against Pakistan or the Muslims, which is oft repeated by some in media and political circles who remain focused on creating a negative perception of both, driven by their ulterior motives. The book just begins with how Kristiane has seen Pakistan, its people, and understood Islam without preconceived notions and prejudice, which is really appreciated. Thank you, Kristiane, for being fair. The book also points to the cultural aspects of Pakistani society, mainly influenced by the Islamic way of life and teachings of Islam. You have very, I would say, in a very best manner presented that in your book. The book goes as deep. The book goes as deep as touching upon the aspects of most of our people remain oblivious of, and that is Sufism, Qawwali, and life in the areas blessed with natural beauty located far from the Vedic crowd. Cleverly, the author has left some threads untwined, providing an elbow room for more write-ups on the cultural aspects of Pakistan, which are confused as being Islamic way of life. Women going to the mosque is among the aspects on which you may need some clarification as I read in your book. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, as the writer comes handy with her experience of the cultural values of both East and the West, she has excellently compared the differences of the two societies while weighing and balancing the strengths and weaknesses of both. While winding up, I wish her success in her new phase of enlightened life and pray that her pen gets more strength to create more such compilations, which may have messages of peace, harmony, and respect for others, which are basic teachings of Islam. Ameen. Thank you for your patience. Pakistan Paindaba. May I also take the opportunity, since whenever we have a gathering of a number of Muslims anywhere, I would like to invite the attention of those who are present here, and they might be aware of a family which perished in Harlow in a fire incident. And the tragedy that befell that Dr. Shakur, I think I would request all of you to pray for that family, for the departed souls, as well as the bereaved family. And I also, and on this occasion, join others in condemning the incident in which Malala got injured. And I must remind all of you that it's not just Malala who got injured and who has become a victim of the extremists wherever they are operating, whether it's Pakistan or any other surface on earth. I think there are 40,000, we have lost more than 40,000 people in this fight against terror. So we must all pray for all those who have been injured or fallen victim to the extremes. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nafiz Zikriya Sahab, Deputy High Commissioner of Pakistan High Commission, and thank you for giving your time to us this evening. Can I ask you to give him a big hand once again? Can I also welcome Deborah Watson, who is former councillor of this ward, who is sitting among us here. Nafiz Zikriya Sahab mentioned Sufism, Islam of Sufism. And this morning I was listening to Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan. And for my English-speaking friends, I'm not going to translate it. For my Urdu-speaking friends, I'm not going to translate it. I'm going to read it in the real Punjabi or Saraiki language, and then you have to translate it later on when you meet other friends. And my apologies from my young daughters and sons who don't understand it. He says, Lakha ita nalu changa sanu ek didar kise da. Unna sadi qadar ki hove jeda nahi bimar kise da. Gulfaraz Khan sahab और Gulfaraz sahab को बड़ी अच्छी तरह समझ रहे हैं लोग उसको पूछना बात है क्यों है सजना रो रो मंगा दुआएं इंशाल्लाह विछड़े ना यार किसे दा और मैंने तीन थी I had three but I'm going to skip one and read the last one which is especially for everybody and anybody sitting here उच्चियां लमियां सब्ज खजूरां पत्थर जिनाते सावे उच्चियां लमियां सब्ज खजूरां it reminded me of my childhood when I used to sit under those खजूर्स लमियां उच्चियां लमियां सब्ज खजूरां पत्थर जिनाते सावे जिस दम नाल सांझ साडी ओ दम नजर ना आवे गलियां सुन उजाड़ वसन सानू वेड़ा खावन आवे यार फरीदा चलो उत्थे वसीए जिथे यार फरीदा उत्थे की वसना जिथे यार नजर ना आवे so our yar is God and that is the yar of our chief guest today. She has asked me not to recite a poem which she is going to end her speech with, and that is Bulla Shah's poem, and I hope you will understand because she is going to read it in English, but once she is finished, I will read it in Punjabi as well, and you will understand that more. I think that is our Islam, which is Islam of love, peace, justice, equality. It is an Islam of Pakistani people coming from the earth of Pakistan, and it is the local Islam which we believe in. It is not the Islam which has been being brought and put on our heads. I hope once you listen to our last and final speaker, you will ask some questions from her. But since I have met her, I have found her a very honest person, very straightforward person. She was a journalist, very senior journalist. She was born in Germany. And I have met her mother and sister. I've seen her mother and sister. And she was a most popular journalist working with MTV. And she was the first German to achieve that honor because it was all dominated by either Americans or British. And she worked with many very famous people like Stones. And when you will see the pictures in the book, you will see how famous she was. She went to Pakistan. She fell in love with Pakistan and with Islam, converted to Islam, and written this book many years in German. It was translated into Dutch and Indonesian, and now it is published in English, and I'm hoping that sometime next year it will be published in Urdu and taken it to Pakistan, that people of Pakistan can see who they are. Because in my opinion, people of Pakistan are very resilient, and that resilience is shown by Malala. The doctors are surprised how resilient she is and how quickly she is getting well. I think it is one of the great nations, it is the most beautiful nation, it is the most resilient nation, about whom our speaker has, final speaker has written. Her name is, as you can see, K.Backer. Can I invite her to come and speak?
Thank you very much, everybody. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. greet you all in the name of God, the most kind, the most merciful. It's such an honor to be here with you today. And thank you, Mushtaq, for organizing this wonderful event. And thank you to all the speakers who've spoken such kind and generous words. There's almost nothing left for me to say. You pretty much know it all, but let me just say a few words anyway about my journey and about my book. Yes, it's all true what you say. Of course, Pakistan is always in the news and always for the wrong reasons. And it really pains me because it is such a beautiful country. I've had the privilege to look behind the headlines and visit your country 9 times. And it's, you know, and I was stunned by the beauty. And yes, it's true, I fell in love with the country because I've experienced the richness of the culture, the warmth of the people, the generosity, the hospitality, and I saw the absolutely stunning variety of nature. From the Karakoram Mountains, I've been privileged enough to travel to Skardu, to Kashmir, to Hunza, to Swat, to Chitral, and enjoyed the hospitality of people in all those different places. I mean, it was Imran Khan who took me there, as you probably know. I'll get back into all of this, how it all happened in a minute. But, we went to, we had tea in a tent with the Pawinda women in the Deoside Plains, with the tribal women, or at some elite function in Karachi or Lahore. And wherever I went, I experienced this incredible hospitality, this incredible warmth, and that really touched me. In opposition to where I was working in the entertainment industry, often there was a harsh wind blowing, and people were just really concerned with themselves, and it's a very egotistical world. But traveling through Pakistan has awakened me, has taught me so much, actually. For example, when we were in the northern areas and climbing higher and higher up, we ended up having tea with, or not tea, but we were passing villages, and the people were so poor, they slept above their animals in little houses, made on stilts, and the cows were at the bottom, the people were above, so that the heat travels up, the animals function as a natural heating system. They didn't have satellite dishes or electricity or even running water. And yet when we walked through the villages, with the Bismillah, they offered us what they had, almonds and walnuts and apricots that they were drying on the roofs. And that was just such an incredible gesture. I saw they didn't look discontent, in their dire circumstances. They had a light in their eye, this kind of nur that comes from faith, that I learned later on. And this sort of thing, it really impressed me. And wherever the jeep, Imran's jeep would stop, it was surrounded by a throng of people, and and everybody wanted something of him. And often people pressed a few rupees into his hand. This is for the hospital. Everybody was supporting the hospital, and he used to say, it's the poor people who build this hospital, not the rich. And he was very touched, and he always kept that money separate, and this is for the hospital, and this kind of friendship and faith, this compassion, and this friendship and faith from people who don't even know you, this is really what touched me so much, and what I now so enjoy, as being part of the Muslim community. I mean, Mushtaq, going out to organize this event, everybody turning up here on a Sunday evening, you were mentioning as well, this warmth with which one is greeted and welcomed, it's incredible. And now, how many people have come on board to help this book make a reality? One of them was this organization, Third, that Mushtaq knows about. They didn't, it was a very difficult book. The German book sort of was very easy, but to get it published in English, publish good news about Islam is not easy. If this book had been about how I was abused by my husband and how bad Islam is and now I'm, an atheist, I'm sure I would have had it published instantly. But, this is good news about Islam. It's about how I became a Muslim, how, what it was. Why I, as an MTV presenter, interviewing rock stars for a living, going to all the VIP parties, you know, having red carpet treatment wherever I went in Europe, you know, with our little camera team, and I'm writing about, you know, some of those anecdotes with the stars, with the Rolling Stones, and Bryan Adams, when Christmas shopping with him, and, you know, hang out with Sinead O'Connor and Elizabeth Hurley and all those people. But, you know, why I didn't find my happiness, my true happiness, in that life, which I found later on as a Muslim. You know, this is what I write about, and I take the reader by the hand, how I discover, you know, this beautiful religion of Islam and the culture of Islam, and especially the Pakistanis, you know. And Imran was the catalyst for that. I mean, I sat next to him at a dinner party, and, you know, he was the one who really, I mean, a very unlikely Islam teacher, but God knows what he's doing. And he works in mysterious ways. And it was actually through him that I found my faith. And I converted after the friendship was finished, not during the friendship. So I did not convert for anybody, but really only for myself, because eventually there came a moment in time when I realized, you know, Islam is not an academic exercise. I've been reading books for 3 years. This was from 92 to 95 when I went to Pakistan all those times. And, you know, spoke to scholars, spoke to ordinary people. I mean, everybody, you know, everybody loves their faith, and everybody volunteers information about it. So I had a lot of teachers in the end. But eventually I realized Islam is not an academic exercise. You can't just keep reading about it and truly understand what it means, you know. There comes a point when actually, you know, you have to get down on your prayer mat and start practicing and living according to those principles that Islam teaches. So 3 years later, that realization came when you know, after the friendship was finished. And when I, you know, converted to Islam, at that time, it was a very tumultuous time. Yes, I was an MTV presenter. I had my own show on German TV. I had won some awards, and we were celebrating the 100th episode of this youth show in Germany. And one journalist had done his research really well, and he asked, have you already converted for your boyfriend? And I was stunned by the question, because we had never admitted there was you know, friendship or anything like that. Because of the culture, you know very well, that's not allowed. So I said, no, but I'm a Muslim at heart. And that was the truth. That's how I felt at the time. And this little comment practically finished my entertainment career. Next day in the German, because I'm much more well known over there, headline news, you know, Kristiane Backer, will she become First Lady of Pakistan? Is she going to present her youth show from behind the burqa? Has she lost the plot? Is she supporting terrorism? You know, and one article after the other followed. And then I was invited on a chat show, you know, people behind the headlines. And I thought this was an opportunity to say something about, you know, Islam and the beautiful Islam that I had discovered. Meanwhile, Imran had finished the friendship, and you know, after that I converted. It all happened at the same time. It was really difficult for me to get the, you know, the sequence of events right. But anyway, I ended up on this chat show, and again, it was just a setup. It started with women in black and with chadors, men with Kalashnikovs in one hand and the Quran in the other hand, screaming Allahu Akbar, everything looking terribly menacing. And then the presenter, Kristiane, our MTV Kristiane, what do you like about this? You know, and you know, I said, well, I tried to answer, explain now Islam means peace and, you know, some of the beauty. And then immediately the microphone was taken to the next person, an Islamophobe. This was a chat show with a bunch of Islamophobes and myself. So it was a setup, and shortly afterwards, you know, the youth show that had begged me to sign for another year pretended, and I'd signed for half a year, pretended we had no contract. And actually, I lost that youth show. And there was nothing I could do. The contract wasn't even worth the paper it was printed on. And then later on that year, MTV also didn't renew the contract. This was after 7 years. I had really done my turn on MTV, stayed longer than everybody else, alhamdulillah. You know, been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. And that ended up in a very nice way. But, you know, it was a difficult year, 95. Here I was, everything that I used to identify myself with was gone. And I was a brand new Muslim, you know. And really, in The moment, I mean, Imran's role very clearly was to bring me to Islam. The moment it had taken root in my heart, he was taken away. And like in all those wonderful Sufi songs that I loved, the Qawwalis, that talk about love for God, it starts with love for the beloved, and then it turns into love for the ultimate beloved, love for God. And this is really, I suppose, what happened to me. Through love, I discovered higher love, you know, and that lasts, which is the good news. And so it was a tough time, and you know, I was a brand new Muslim, and then I must say it was the Muslims in a mosque, in a kind of a slightly Sufi-inspired mosque, that helped me through those difficulties and those challenges, and they gave me a lot of support and sayings and, you know, spiritual support, and they made me understand what was happening from a higher perspective, you know, and they explained also the benefits in suffering and challenges that come. None of us is spared. Who is suffering the most, who has suffered the most challenges in our lives? It's the prophets, of course. Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, what happened to him? He was maligned, he was attacked and everything else, and yet he prayed for his attackers. Now, this is our model. Now, it's a sign that God loves you when you're facing a challenge. This is what I learned. And what happens is Rumi, Jalaluddin Rumi, he likens suffering to the chickpeas that are cooked in the boiling water until they're delicious and sweet. This is what happens with our soul when we're facing difficulties. And so I learned all of that. It was a difficult time, but you know, you do come out, and one comes out stronger and hopefully a little bit wiser and more, you know, and better, inshallah. Better and not bitter. This is another saying I learned at that time. So, you know, so it's been an adventurous journey, and certainly it was really via Pakistan. Had some key moments, key experiences with Pakistani people that really touched me. For example, once, just tell you one, I was flying back from Pakistan and I was sitting next to a Pakistani in the airplane, and he said, oh, who's picking you up? I said, nobody. And he said, oh, I have a whole family picking me up, and lo and behold, as always, which is so sweet, you know, at the airport, there was a whole tribe waiting for him. He hadn't been, you know, home for over a year, and everybody was picking him up, and he said, I'll make sure to drop you home first. And he had to go to Reading, actually. And so it was 1 hour. How long does it take from Heathrow? A long time, and, you know, they all were very, you know, food was waiting at home and everything, and he made sure, with a couple of family members, they dropped me home first. Then he went, you know, huge detour. Then he went home to join his family. Now, days later, I was in Germany at some event where Michael Schumacher, the racing driver, was there. And the program director of the channel where I hosted that youth show wanted a lift from my producers to his hotel. And he asked these producers, and they were consulting in the front, and they said, sorry, a 10-minute detour, time is money, we can't give you a lift. I was shocked, you know, and these kind of experiences really made me think as I was shuttling back and forth between the two worlds, you know, after my very first trip to Pakistan, I went to La La Land, to the MTV Video Music Awards in LA, and it was a culture shock. Here, just came from the mountains, you know, Nagar and beyond, where we slept in tents, and where we had these experiences with everybody being so kind and generous, you know, and everybody wearing white shalwar kameez and all of this. There I was suddenly thrown, you know, into the height of the entertainment world, really, the capital of the entertainment, and fakeness, I suppose. Everybody had their, you know, lips with Botox and mini skirts, you know, like as short as a belt, and men wearing glasses at night, sunglasses, you know, to look cool, or I don't know, to hide something or the other. And it was such a crass difference, and I was longing really for the warmth and the authenticity, the sincerity of the people that I've met in Pakistan. And this is how it began, you know, with these experiences. And then with a lot of debates with Imran, you know, on my first date, I turned up in a mini dress. alaya mini dress, and he asked me to keep on my coat all night because I said, why? You know, we were going for dinner to a club and everything, and he explained to me that women don't show flesh in Pakistani culture, and men don't either. People dress modestly for the sake of God, and you know, they don't flaunt. So you see, I was in the entertainment world, and it was, if you've got to flaunt it, you know, show what you have, sell, sex sells, you know, we all know that. So it was a new a challenge, really, a new idea to cover up, you know, and then thinking about it, you know, even though I was in the middle of this entertainment world, it made sense if you think about it. Why should a woman, you know, half naked, sell anything from car tires to cigarettes and beer, you know, with her allure? It makes much more sense to be, you know, a little bit more modestly dressed and to be recognized for what you have to say, for your personality, for your thoughts. It's far more dignified. It made absolute sense. So while I was still working on MTV, I started wearing longer clothes. And I stopped wearing the miniskirts and so on. Luckily, the fashion at the time was grunge, and no one really noticed. But then, when the hemlines went up again, mine stayed down, you know. And so it was a gradual process, the whole thing, becoming a Muslim. And when I was finally ready, I asked, you know, I was still asking myself, can I, as a Western woman, you know, really embrace this religion and become a Muslim? And I was a little bit worried because there's so much to learn and so much to do. But then this wonderful teacher who I had, Gay Eaton, he said, look, no one becomes an angel overnight. And also, Islam was revealed within 23 years. It took the Arabs at the time 23 years, you know, the whole time as long as the revelation went on. So I don't need to worry to put everything into practice right away, because that was never demanded of anybody. So, so that gave me the courage to take the step. And then, you know, that first Ramadan, for example, was a bit of a disaster. And mind you, Ramadan finished, I think, at 4:30 in the afternoon at that time. And I had gone out the night before, had a glass of champagne or two, and God forgive me. And the next day I was lying in bed, dehydrated, with a pounding headache. At 2 o'clock I gave up. Ramadan is not for me. You know, astaghfirullah. And then the next year, you know, I was very worried because I was presenting a show. In fact, on NBC by that time, I found a new job, and it was around the Christmas time. And in order to have a break, we needed to record twice the amount of shows. So from morning till night, I was doing voiceovers, speaking into the camera, and I thought, how am I going to do this without a little bit of water in between? You know, and I was really worried, but I psyched myself up, and alhamdulillah, it worked. I don't know, I had always enough, you know, I could speak all day long without drinking anything. And then I even got compliments from my colleagues, you know, you look so pure, and I don't know what, you know. So, and since then, alhamdulillah, I managed every single Ramadan. Alhamdulillah, so far so good. I do get worried these Ramadans, of course, because they've never done such long Ramadans, but, you know, thanks to God, when you really try, when you really psych yourself up, He helps. It's such a beautiful experience. Like it says, there's a hadith that says, if you go one step towards God, He comes 10 steps towards you. If you walk towards God, He comes running to you. But the point is, we need to do the first step. And well, on this inspirational note, let us all take the first steps and keep remembering to take those steps, and we will, you know, God will help us to do the rest, and will come to our aid. I'd like to finish now with that quote that was already announced by Mushtaq, because, you know, it was really Qawwali music, like with a lot of Indians at the time, did play a great role also in my conversion. It was the experiences with the people, it was the books that I read. You know, I realized the message, there is truth in this. I realized this is the truth. I was intellectually convinced. And also the Qawwali music, when, you know, the lyrics were translated to me, really touched me far more deeply than any pop song on MTV at the time. And I'd like to quote Gulfaraz, who really expresses well my spiritual quest at the time. You've learned so much and read 1,000 books. Have you ever read yourself? You have gone to the mosque and to the temple. Have you ever visited your soul? You are busy fighting Satan. Have you ever fought your own ill intentions? You have reached into the skies, but you have failed to reach what's in your heart. May you all, and may we all, find a way to reach into our hearts and find the light that guides our souls and shine with the light of Allah and the support of Allah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kristiane. I think the poem you have just ended, I'll just read first 2 sentences of it. 100 किताबां पढ़ियां, कदी अपने आप को पढ़िया नहीं, मस्जिद जाना है, मंदिर जाना है, अपने अंदर बढ़िया नहीं. It is one of the best, I think, poem by Lasharie, because if we can read ourselves or inner self of ourselves, we don't need to read anything. Because Lasharie also says, Alif darkar mein. ये बाबे फरीद का है, इक्को अलफ दरकार में. वो कहते हैं अलफ के बाद पढ़ने की जरूरत नहीं. अगर आपने अलफ को पढ़ लिया, that is enough. Now I'm going to ask 2 more speakers briefly, 1 speaker and then question answer. I think while Dr. Ijazilai is here, I welcome him. Thank you very much. And I ask Dr. K.Backer to just speak briefly for 2 minutes, if you don't mind. Because I have been, I know your presence will be very valuable and say a few words. Dr. K.Backer.
I was not expecting this. Well, I read this book briefly, and I liked it.
Good book.
Yes.
You read it as well.
And especially the journey through Pakistan and through your heart. And the way you described it was impressive and moving. So I liked it very much. And the other thing I liked about you and the book is that you have chosen the right kind of Islam. You stayed away from extreme Islam and extremism. And that was very important in your journey. The Sufism, unfortunately, we don't have exact translation in English. In English, you can only say mysticism. But the spiritual experience in Islam has no mystic about it. It's so personal. It's so within yourself that you can reach it, you can feel it at any time. So there is no mysticism in Islamic mysticism or Islamic Sufism. And the basic tenet of Sufism in Islam is the oneness with God. And as Kristiane has said, that comes only when you travel inward, when you discover yourself, when you discover your heart, your feeling, and when you make that connection with God, with the Almighty Allah, then you get that spiritual experience, which I think Kristiane has experienced a bit, or maybe a lot. I can't say anything about that, but that journey towards inside, inward journey towards your heart, towards yourself, is the meat of mysticism, Sufism in Islam. And with that, Kristiane, I congratulate you for the Islam.
Thank you very much. Now question answers, and I think, can I tell you another thing, which I was going to speak or say in the beginning, but somehow I missed it. All the sale today, whatever the money is raised, Kristiane, just for 1 minute, all the money which will be raised, 20% will go to a charity which is called Choke Aid Project, which is for the disabled female children in the villages of Pakistan. It is a registered charity. So when you buy book, keep in your mind that Eid is coming and some of the money will go to the very, very vulnerable children in the villages of Pakistan, female especially. And so that is first thing. Questions? Question please. I know that.
Give the microphone to Kristiane. She'll take questions. We don't need to chair it.
Man throwed up.
Right.
Is there? You want to ask questions?
Kristiane, thank you so much for coming to Reading. We're honoured to have you here. And I wanted to say how humbled I was by your talk. It's really inspiring. And you know, as a non-Muslim, I find it really quite humbling and very inspiring to hear all that. What do you think we can all do, particularly those of us with any sort of position of responsibility? I'm a local councillor in Reading. What can we do to challenge stereotypes in the region? Because it's obviously something that really needs to be tackled much more strongly than it has been so far.
Absolutely, I know. You see, the trouble is the media works, has to cover the crisis. So if someone bombs a tube, that's big news and they have to cover that in the news section. However, we need more documentaries, more drama series featuring the real Islam, the Islam of the absolute majority. Now, I mean, again, the unfortunate incident with that innocence of Muslims, 0.001% reacted badly, emotionally. That was what overshadowed all media discourse. The 1.5 billion people who just thought, oh, a lot of rubbish, yeah, stupid film, but we won't, bother. They weren't seen. So yes, we need to really try to do something to give the majority Muslims a better platform. But also, I believe, we need to foster friendships. I think like Victoria was saying, she felt so welcome always in Muslim communities. We need to foster friendships. And I think everybody here, non-Muslims, when they experience Muslims on a personal level, they are touched, their hearts open. Even the hardest of political analysts, I went to one of his book talks, and of his book called Pakistan, a Hard Country. I thought this is again Paki bashing. No, the opposite. You could see how he loves the culture. So I think really we need open minds, open hearts, and a lot of maybe try to organize events, for iftar, invite non-Muslims, invite people to the mosques or to the community center. Have your neighbors around for a cup of tea. They love pakoras, and they love Pakistani culture. I think we need to. I was saying to the minister here, we need to, Pakistan is a treasure house of beautiful culture. The artisan, the embroideries, the Mughal architecture, the calligraphy, the music. We need to feature this sort of stuff, and invite non-Muslims. They will love it.
Ladies, no more, ma'am. No more. At the end, first we want some ladies to ask questions. Any ladies? Question or any comment? Oh, Dr.
Yeah, there's one.
Oh, is there? Sorry, yes. Yes, young lady. Yeah. Could you speak loud? Or should we give the microphone?
The first, the what?
First ever feelings when you wanted to become Muslim.
Well, see, it was sort of thing, yeah. I mean, as I was saying, it was a gradual process, discovering. I was just trying to explain how, the concept of modesty, but it took, a while. I had a lot of questions. So, clearing so many things, it took a while. But, it was a constant realization over a few years' time, about, no scientific fact is disputed in the Quran, or just the main doctrines. There's one God, we pray directly to Him, this life is a seabed for the next life. When you hear this, yeah, actually, why should a child be born as a sinner with the original sin? It's, you think and you reflect, it was an awakening that went on and on and on, an intellectual awakening and a continuous realization. It was such an exciting process, I can't even tell you. And then the last book I read before converting was actually called What is Sufism by Martin Links. And he describes the fruits of the religion that you would taste when you practice, you know, the perfume of the religion, and how you can sanctify every day and every deed by doing things in the name of God, Bismillah. And you know, now you have even a foretaste of paradise, the ones who are really, really, you know, advanced on the mystical path. You know, and that is when I realized I want this. I want to feel it and experience it. You know, not just keep reading about it. That's when I was ready. You know.
Thank you, young lady here.
And I'd like to ask, what inspired you the most to like come to Islam? Like, what was the most inspiring thing?
Yeah, and it was a combination of all that. You know, it was a combination of the beautiful people that I met, you know, that really affected my heart. Watching Imran build the cancer hospital with an army of volunteers. You know, he had just won the World Cup for Pakistan. I had no idea about it because I didn't know about cricket and I didn't know about Pakistan, you know, as a German. I had never followed it. So I was meeting somebody really famous and I had no idea. And he didn't know about that I was a famous VJ at the time either because, you know, he wasn't too much into pop music. But when he said, you know, he would give it all up, you know, to become a charity worker, to build a cancer hospital where the poor patients would be treated for free. And then I witnessed for a few years how with an army of volunteers from around the world, you know, they were all believed in this higher cause, all did it. Everybody donated their time and effort to please God at the end of the day, you know, and that sort of, you know, this trust in God that I witnessed in people, you know, it's all that inspired me. You know, and then, but also the intellectual realization, you know, reading about Islam, reading about the doctrines, it makes sense. It's very clear. You know, I didn't even have to read all the other religions and compare because I was just, you know, realized this is the truth. So yeah, it took about 3 years to until I was, you know, I then wanted to feel it and practice it. Before, as I was saying, even in the media, you know, it had already taken root in my heart. I was a Muslim at heart, but for that next step, it took another little bit longer.